Today, Heitor received his salary, but does he still have money in his pocket? Today, we're going to solve a series of percentage questions that seem easy, but make a lot of people get them wrong on competitive exams. Let's start with Heitor's financial drama and then take it up a notch with real questions from FGV and Vunesp. If you still get confused with successive percentages, discounts, or profit, this video will make it click. Shall we go to the board? Here, look, first problem, Heitor's salary. Heitor received his salary and went shopping. First, he spent a quarter of what he had, then he spent a quarter of what was left, and then he spent a quarter of what remained again. What percentage of his salary does Heitor still have in his pocket? Yeah, it really messes with your head, doesn't it? So first, pause the video, try to solve it on your own, then tell me in the comments what you thought, and then I'll show you the step-by-step solution. Well, since these options are pretty big and take up the board, I'm going to erase the options so we can solve it, and then we'll bring them back, okay? Let's solve it step by step here. Let's go. Heitor got paid and went shopping. In percentage terms, Heitor's full salary is 100%. The total is always 100%, all right? So Heitor got his salary, and first he spent a quarter of what he had. So first of all, look. First expense, he spent a quarter of what he had. Great. If he had his salary was 100, then it's a quarter of 100. Well, calculating a quarter of something is dividing by 4, so taking 100 divided by 4, that's equal to 25. That is, with this first expense, he spent 25% of his salary. If he had 100%, what's left is the 100 he had minus the 25 he spent, and that's equal to 75%. So, he had 75 left after the first expense. Well, moving on. The question says the following. Look. Then he spent a quarter of what was left. Well, there was 75% left. When working out the second round of spending, he started to get worried, thinking the money wouldn't be enough. Look. It's because he's worried, so the second time around he spent a quarter of what was left. He had 75% left. Look. So, to calculate a quarter of 75, just divide. 75 divided by 4. Do that calculation. You can do that calculation, 75 divided by 4, and you'll get 18.75. That's what he spent the second time, all right? So how much was left? There was 75% left, which is what he had left after the first expense, minus those 18.75. Solving that subtraction, 75 minus 18.75, that's equal to 56.25%. That's what was left of his salary after the first two expenses. But it didn't stop there. Here's what the question says next. Then, for the third time, he spent a quarter of what was left again. So there's the third expense here. In this third expense, he spent a quarter of what was left. There was 56.25 left. So, calculating a quarter of 56.25, we're going to take 56.25 and divide it by 4. Do this calculation, which you will solve to practice. Grab some paper and a pen and do this calculation, okay? Dividing 56.25 by 4, that's equal to 14.0625. That's what he spent the third time. So, how much was left at the end? There was 56.25 left, which is what was left after the second expense, minus what he spent now, the third time. Solving this subtraction, right? 56.25 minus 14.0625, that's equal to 42.1875%. I'll even write it down here, look. What he still has in his pocket after those three expenses is 42.1875%. Well, looking at the options, come on, he's happy, right? He still has plenty of money left. Let's look at the options. Option A. Is this percentage between 35 and 40? No, 42 is greater than 40, right? Letter B. Is it between 40 and 45? Yes, 42.1875 is between 40 and 45. So the correct answer is letter B. If you chose letter B, you got it right. All right? Am I good? Were you able to solve this on your own? Let me know in the comments. Let's go to the second problem. It's a problem from Vunesp, which says the following. Bricks on the sidewalk. Pay attention to the context. To make a sidewalk, 400 cement bricks were bought. The work lasted 2 days. On the first day, 30% of the total number of bricks bought were used. On the second day, 70% of the remaining bricks were used. What was the total number of bricks that were left over? Before anything else, pause the video and try to solve it on your own to see how you're doing with this type of problem. I'm going to show you the solution now. Then let me know in the comments, okay? Well, first of all, I like to organize everything. Take a look. Total bricks bought, 400 bricks, okay? On the first day, 30% of the total number of bricks bought were used. So on the first day, 30 out of 400 bricks were used. Well, percentage is a ratio over 100, okay? When you see this percentage symbol, 30%, it means that 30 is being divided by 100. 30 over 100. So we're going to write 30 over 100 times 400. The prepositions d, do, and da in math mean multiplication, all right? So 30% of 400 means 30 over 100 times 400. We can simplify the zeros there. I have 2 zeros in the 100 on the bottom. I can cancel this 0 here with the 0 on top. Any 0 that's on top, I can cancel. I can also simplify this other 0 here with another 0. What's left? 30 divided by 1, which is 30 itself times 4. 30 times 4, if 3 times 4 is 12, right? 30 times 4 is 120. In other words, on this first day, 120 bricks were used. Well, if 120 bricks were used on the first day, let's calculate how many were left for the second day. You're going to take the total 400 bricks minus the ones they used on the first day, which is 120. 400 minus 120, that's equal to 280 bricks. That's the amount left to work with on the second day, all right? Here's what happened on day 2. On the second day, 70% of the number of bricks that were still left were used. How many were still left? 280. So let's calculate 70% of those bricks that were still left, which is 280. 70% of 280, a percentage, is a ratio out of 100. 70 over 100 multiplied by 280. Likewise, I'll simplify the zeros here. The 0 in the 100 cancels with the 0 on top, and the other 0 in the 100 cancels with the other 0 on top. It became 7 divided by 1, which is 7. So 7 times 28, that's equal to 196 bricks. That's the number of bricks they used on the second day. Now, the question is this: how many bricks were left over? Well, let me erase this here. Look. If there were 280 left, we're going to take those 280 and subtract what they used on the second day, which is 196. Solving this subtraction, 280 minus 196, that's equal to 84 bricks. In other words, the number of bricks left at the end was 84 bricks. Whoever chose letter E got it right and aced the question, all right? Now I want you to comment below. Let me know if you managed to get this question right and how you solved it. Because there are a few different ways for us to solve it. If you solved it in a different way than I did, let me know in the comments. All right, let's go. Third question, third problem. Look, this is a problem from Fundação Getúlio Vargas from this year. In 2026, the radio survey states the following. A radio station conducted a survey to better understand its listening audience. In total, 240 people were interviewed. Out of the total number of interviewees, 100 were women and 136 listened to the radio. It was also found that only 6 women do not listen to the radio. Of the men interviewed, what percentage of them listen to the radio? Wow, huh? I'll tell you, it really makes your head spin. You don't even know where to start with so much information. That's why I like to organize things. But before anything else, before you watch my explanation here, pause the video, try to solve it on your own, then tell me in the comments so you can practice and see where you're making mistakes. If you got it right, let me know in the comments. All right, let's go. Here's the solution. The total is 240 people, okay? Let's organize it step by step. Then the question says the following. Out of the total respondents, 100 were women. So 100 women, okay? Now think about this with me. If the total is 240 people and 100 are women, they didn't say here how many men there are. But since the total is 240 and 100 are women, the rest, right, what's left to get to 240 is made up of men. So there are 140 men. It has to add up to 240, 100 are women, 140 are men. Continuing, the question says the following. Look, 136 listen to the radio. I'll put it here. Look, 136 people listen to the radio. Okay? We also know this is very important for solving the problem. It was also found that only 6 women do not listen to the radio. So look, women who listen. Women who listen. If 6 women do not listen to the radio, out of 100 women, we will take this total, which is 100 women minus the 6 who do not listen to the radio. That will be equal to 100 minus 6, which is 94 women, right? If 100 women is the total and 6 do not listen to the radio, 100 minus those 6, which is 94, means 94 women listen to the radio. Now think with me for a moment about the information right above. 136 people listen to the radio. Out of these 136 people, we are already sure that 94 are women, right? There are 94 women who listen to the radio. So with these 2 pieces of information, we can find out how many men listen to the radio. Let's take 136 people, which is the total, minus the 94 women who listen to the radio. 136 minus 94, that's equal to 42. So we found the number of men who listen to the radio. Exactly the information we need. Why? Because the question is as follows. Look, of the men interviewed, these here, look, of these 140 men interviewed, what percentage of them listen to the radio? Well, we know that the total is 140. And 42 out of these 140 listen to the radio. To calculate this percentage, what are we going to do? Let's take 42 over the total, which is 140, and multiply that by 100. That's how we find the percentage. If we have the total and a certain amount, and we want to calculate what percentage that amount is, we take that amount, which is 42 divided by the total, which is 140, multiply everything by 100, and we'll get the percentage. So let's do it. Look, by canceling the 0 in the denominator with the 0 in the numerator, it becomes like this. 42 over 14 times 10. Multiplying 42 by 10 is 420. It will be 420 divided by 14. Solving this division, look, 42 divided by 14 is 3, and 3 times 14 is 42. Got it? That's the 14 times table right there. 3 times 14 is 42. If 42 divided by 14 is 3, then 420 divided by 14 is equal to 30%. And we found our answer right there. Of the men interviewed, out of those 140, the percentage of those who listen to the radio is 30%. Whoever chose letter D got it right. Congratulations, and your answer will be accepted in your exam. Now, that's not all. I'll leave this challenge question from Getulio Vargas Foundation for you. Pause the video, try to solve it on your own, and then let me know in the comments how you did after this explanation. I'll leave the step-by-step solution for this question in the video description for you. If you solve these questions without getting stuck, congrats, but be careful. The pressure is different during the exam. And that's exactly why I created the 80 Mais a Prova. There, I teach you math from scratch, without rote memorization, focusing on what really appears in exams. The link is here in the description. Now comment down below, did you get the car question right or did you fall for the trick? Big hug from Professor Robson Lyers, Mathematicamente. I'll see you in the next class.